Previous roll.
Any objection to previous roll? Hearing none. Board Bill 195 passes out with a due pass recommendation. Companion bill to Board Bill 195 is Board Bill 196. Antonio?
Yeah, Board Bill 196, Rhonda kind of gave you a highlight. What we're doing here is we have a clause in the bond indenture where we could use a fund from the debt service stabilization fund to fund emergency repairs or emergency situations. And in this case here, we're asking for the removal of the $400,000 from the debt service stabilization fund to fund this emergency repair project.
Thank you. Any questions from anyone on the committee?
I make a motion we pass Board Bill 196 on the due pass
Second.
recommendation.
Previous roll.
Any objection to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 196 passes out with a due pass recommendation. Okay, Board Bill 197. Rhonda, is Rob? Anybody want to tell us about that?
Board Bill 197 is a lease agreement with Trico Properties and Investments LLC. Trico Properties uses land that the airport owns. It's vacant ground and they use it for storage behind the building that they lease, not from the airport. It is just right up here, north of Banshee Road actually, and north of the airport's airfield.
Where's the main terminal?
The main terminal, sir, is right down in here.
You can't see it.
So it's well north.
Yeah, we
can't see it.
can't see it.
Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. So it's right up there.
So here's the terminal facility, so it's on vacant property that we own on the other side of the airfield.
The term of the agreement is 43 months, beginning December 1st, 2015, and ending June 30th, 2019. The term of 43 months is at the request of the lessee, and it will coincide with the lease term of the building that they currently occupy. Annual rental is $33,192 and increasing to $34,500 during the last year of the agreement. We respectfully request the Board of Aldermen approval of this board bill.
And Rob, is this a renewal?
It is a renewal. They've been out there some time.
And what was their rent? What's the renewing rent?
The current rent is $32,218 a
So this
year,
is
so we're going up a little
A little
bit.
bit of a bump up.
And most of the appraised value, this is just vacant land, we get anywhere from 30 to 35 cents a square foot for the vacant land, and there is an appraisal on that. So it's going with what the appraised value of the vacant land is.
Okay. Alderwoman Behringer,
No questions.
Alderman Moore,
No questions.
Alderman Vaccaro,
Question.
Alderman Cone.
No questions.
I will make
Entertain
a
a motion.
motion that we pass Board Bill 197 on the due pass
Second.
recommendation.
Previous roll.
Any objection to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 197 passes out with a due pass recommendation. Okay, Board Bill 198, Electronics Retail Concession Agreement.
This is an electronics retail concession. We're asking your approval for an agreement with HG St. Louis Joint Venture 2, which will do business as Tech on the Go at the airport. We have a couple displays here. That is their rendering of one of the stores. I believe that this is their C Concourse rendering. And one of the things you'll notice is they have a pretty striking media wall behind it. And they're confident that really draws customers in. And they sell a pretty wide variety of headphones and electronics gear. There are 3 locations, A Concourse, C Concourse, and Terminal 2. And their term of the agreement is 7 contract years to begin December 1st, 2015, and end November 30th, 2022. The airport did bid this concession out in the solicitation for bid process. There were 2 bidders, and HG St. Louis Joint Venture 2 was the highest and best bidder for the bid item. The bid item was the 7-year minimum annual guarantee, which for Hudson, the HG St. Louis, was just over $3 million, and the next bidder was In Motion that bid just over $2 million. So there's approximately a $1 million difference over the 7-year term. And that is all the minimum annual guarantee versus 12% of gross revenue. We respectfully request the Board of Aldermen approval of this board bill.
One additional comment, I think someone asked from the board about why the increase in year 7 of the contract. That, Hudson is, they do that a lot. If you'll come back to the contract that we had with the Hudson shop, in general, the big one that we brought forward a couple of years ago with the change of concessions, they look at their overall build out and they look at the cost, and then they try to give back a larger percentage when they kind of guaranteed themselves a revenue as well. So you'll look here in year 7 that it's an 800,000 mag for us that year, which is a nice bump over. But when we asked them specifically, it was just their way of being able to ensure that they can recoup their investment and then give back to the airport as much as they possibly feel. So that was the only reason for that being in the final year.
So they amortize their build
Yeah.
out and that sort of thing over the first 6 years?
Right.
Sure. Okay. Alderwoman Behringer?
No questions.
Alderman Moore?
No question.
Alderman Vaccaro?
No question.
Alderman Cone?
So, two things. I think this is great, but technology evolves so much in 7 years. I'll be curious to see what's in the store by then. But
The inventory will turn over.
yeah, the inventory will hopefully be turning over. But so when you all bid out for concessions, is that how does that process work? Do you guys identify needs at the airport in terms of bars, restaurants, electronics, etc.? Put that into the RFP or RFQ, and then bid it out saying we're looking for someone to come in and sell technology services, or do you just say we have concession space available and whoever gives us the best bid gets the space?
A little bit of both, but
Right, right. No, I mean, we mainly the first when we get to the bid process. But before we even get to a point of bidding something out, we'll look at different spaces and say, okay, the current electronics retail shops come up for bid. The agreement expires in a year or two. Is there something else we'd rather do in those spaces? We look at the market. In this case, no. Electronics is still a strong business segment, and so then we go to the people who do it, and we advertise and we put together a bid spec that says, there are these 3 spaces available. We want strong electronics sales and a strong electronics retailer, and that's when we put it out for bid.
But to answer your a little bit broader, Shane, when we put out the broad concession, remember we had all 3 concourses in the broad concession. This wasn't part of that. This was a direct one that we had that was independent. So when we put out that broader concession, we conceptually asked the concessionaires, show us when you present your proposal what stores and restaurants, and we have the right, if we're not comfortable with those, to say we don't like that concept or we don't like that concept.
Okay.
On this particular one, because it was a direct that was separate from that agreement, the electronic store has been doing very well, and in airports, it's usually the #1 request is I lost my headphones, or I lost my
I need a
battery
USB
pack, or I need something.
yeah, right.
Give me noise,
Yeah.
sound barriers for that
Chargers.
plane ride, for those
Yeah.
screaming children.
And the other one was expiring. The agreement had expired in that one, so we were going to have to renew it. So we specifically asked for an electronic store on this and what your concept would be
Okay,
with that.
great. Thank you.
Any further questions?
And I'll make a motion to pass 198 with a due pass.
Second.
Previous roll?
Any objection to previous roll? Question or an
Madam
objection?
Chairperson, I wanted to ask about Board Bill 200.
100.
You don't have it.
That's not a 200.
You're just trying to throw me off my game, aren't you?
It's something I want to ask Rhonda something. That's why I said Board Bill 200.
Okay. Do you want to do it before, can we take the vote on this bill and then?
Sure.
Okay. There's been a request for previous roll. Is there any objection to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 198 passes out with a due pass recommendation. Okay. After Alderman Moore asks his question about Board Bill 200, we'll go to Board Bill 198.
199.
199, duh. Thank you. See, you did throw me off.
Okay. Rhonda, there is a little card that fits in my wallet, looks like that. And I'm wondering what happened to that little card. Were we spending so much money that our parking privileges have been taken away, and I wonder, had you reconsidered that to put those parking passes back to the board or as a courtesy to us? We're not using them that much, and I just wanted to know why they were taken, and maybe if you want to answer that off the record, I don't have a problem with it, but it's just beyond me that we've lost our privileges to park out at the airport, and I fly once every 10 years. But when I fly, I want to have that little privilege to put that little card in and park my car. And since I'm a city father, I'm just wondering what happened to our little parking passes. Were we spending that much money, or were they being abused?
Well, first of all, there is a FAA provision for revenue diversion, so there has to be a justification why you're diverting revenue, giving those away, diverted revenue into the airport. It had been a long-standing policy, so we sort of left them there. When the inquiry came from the Post-Dispatch that said we would like a list of all of these, it was a sunshine request. We had to provide that list, which started a lot of controversy. If you'll look, and you can follow airports all around the country right now, they're also being investigated and being asked to eliminate parking cards, those that did offer them. There were at least 8 that we know of that were offering them, that as a result of this inquiry have been asked to delete the parking cards. So what the FAA says is that there has to be a need at the airport to provide one. So the airport commission, which comes out every month and which meets, we do provide parking cards for them in Terminal 1 only, because the meetings are held in Terminal 1. Other than that...
Only if requested, right?
Yes, that's only, and one commissioner opted not to request one.
I didn't request one.
So, actually, I guess we had 2 then. So so that's the issue.
Were we spending a lot of money?
We weren't spending the money, but if you look at it, it's money that we would be collecting that we're not collecting. So it's not that we're spending money.
So all the people at the airport, they have parking passes? The ones, your employees, the people that work for you?
Well, we have an employee garage down below that they park on the red level. If they work out in some of the other buildings or shops, they park in their buildings and shops. If you look at, we have certain contractors that are on the field every day, like Hudson or like Paradise, that have some parking in the garage below as well. We've got the electricians. Yes, because they're a tenant that has to bring, not all of their employees, it's just...
My only issue is that we're city employees as well, and I'm just wondering why our privileges was taken away, you know, compared to others. It looked like we would be the first to get the privilege and not using it as much as we use, but we'll be talking about it.
Okay.
You know,
There is a process where you can apply if you feel that you have a need, so.
We will.
Well, and is there a way, I mean, as members of TNC, or, you know, I've been out to the airport in 7 years, maybe a handful of times for, you know, committee-related business, but then also, you know, as aldermen, we do travel from time to time for either conferences or whatnot. So, like, instead of just getting a card for continual use, like, if we were to email you and say we have a, like, business reason why we're going to be at the airport, would we be able to get...
If you're coming out
You
to
know.
the airport for a meeting or anything, yes. If you're traveling for other city business, no. The
Okay.
argument would be is that you turn it back in for expense report, which is what we're required to do.
Okay.
So,
What is that terminal where everybody go and park while you're waiting on,
the cell phone lot?
your cell phone? Why don't you put us down there?
We have to drive up to
We
that.
don't allow cars to be parked there overnight. So,
Okay,
Okay,
I don't like it, but
I know, I'm sorry.
grin and bear it.
all right, so if we could take up Board Bill 199, and this has to do with a space permit for Outfront Media.
This is a space, pardon me, we're requesting approval for a space permit with Outfront Media LLC. There are 2 billboard structures on the north side, again up on north of Banshee Road with McDonnell Douglas. It's in a industrial area, it's just really just the Boeing employees are really the people who see these billboards. Annual rental to the airport is $5,580, plus 20% of the gross revenue received from the advertising, over $27,900 in gross. We respectfully request that the Board of Aldermen approve this space permit without Front Media LLC, and I should say the term of the agreement is 5 years, beginning December 1st, 2015.
And Rob, is this a renewal?
It is a renewal. The billboard has been out there quite some time.
And what are we getting in rent now?
Right now, we get currently $2,400 annually, so it goes up to $5,580 annually.
And do we currently have a percentage of the gross?
We do not.
Okay, so do we expect, or does the tenant expect that there will be more than $27,000 a year in revenue, or they don't know?
Hopefully sometime in the next 5 years, not right away though.
Okay, all right, so we're just about doubling our rent. Let's forget the 20% for right now. It could be better than that, but we're not gonna count on that. Okay,
And we do have say-so over the type of message in the billboard, so we do have the ability to reject any billboard that we don't think is appropriate.
Good job.
We do section 605.
yeah. Okay, Alderwoman Behringer, any questions?
She already answered my question, thank
She's
you.
on top of it.
Mhm.
Alderman Moore,
No questions.
Alderman Vaccaro,
We didn't send it out for bid, we just extended and,
You know, it's a lease, right?
okay, no other questions.
Alderman Cone.
No questions.
Then I'll make the motion, that we pass Board Bill 199 now, with due pass recommendation.
Second.
Previous roll.
Is there any objection to previous roll? Hearing none, Board Bill 199 passes out with a due pass recommendation. Is that an objection? No? All right. Thank you.